The most shocking trade in NBA history was so unbelievable that most of us refused to even believe that it was real. When that Shams Charania notification dropped, I leaped out of bed and I refreshed for 15 minutes straight just waiting to see that he was hacked. Nobody around the NBA had even the slightest indication of Luka Doncic being available. A 25-year-old superstar with one of the best starts to a career ever and being fresh off a finals run never gets traded. The only way a guy of this stature gets dealt, especially in the beginning of his prime, is if they demand out. That isn't the case here though. Dallas reportedly went to the Lakers offering Luka, not the other way around. Mavs GM Nico Harrison said they wanted to get ahead of Luka's contract status. If Luka didn't reach a Supermax extension this summer, the Mavs would risk losing him next offseason for nothing, or at least losing leverage in trade talks later on. But there are no reports indicating that Luka wouldn't have taken that Supermax, or that he was unhappy in Dallas at all. And even if he was, nobody in the NBA turns down the Supermax at this point. The move that stars do these days is to accept the big extension now, and then ask out later if needed. If Dallas had signed Luka to the Supermax, the security of having him under contract for 5 more years would have increased his trade value. Tim McMahon says the Mavs also had concerns about Luka's weight and conditioning, and that he's pushing 270 at one point this season. That's been a problem for Luka for a while now. It's certainly contributed to a number of injuries he's had over the years, and that's something that might discourage Dallas from committing a full 5-year, $345 million Supermax to. But this is still Luka we're talking about. That guy could show up to training camp 500 pounds and I'd still want to give him the Supermax. The question we all have though, is why there was no bidding more. If you made it known that Luka was available, all 29 other teams would spam your phone with monstrous trade offers. OKC could have offered them double-digit first-round picks and Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren. At the very least, Dallas should have extracted everything they could from LA. You're trading Luka. They could have demanded LA's 2031 first-round pick, Dalton Connect, and Austin Reeves. How in the world did they only get the 2029 Lakers first-round pick out of this? And the bad part is, that 29 Lakers pick used to have a lot of value around the league, since LeBron would have been retired by that stage, but now with Luka on the roster at that point, who's only going to be 30 years old in 2029, they're going to be a good team. You also dealt Luka in conference to a rival, and you're going to have to face him for the next decade as he probably puts up 50 points a game on you every time he sees you. Now, the major issue that would come up if you were trading Luka to another team that's not the Lakers is needing to know that Luka will commit to that franchise. Sure, a team like OKC has the assets to pull it off, but you don't surrender what it would take to land Luka without having that comfort in knowing he'd be willing to sign an extension there. I'm sure Los Angeles feels good about being able to re-sign him. What makes this even more stunning is that Dallas was already a contender. They're literally coming fresh off a finals appearance. It's not like this roster wasn't working out and they needed a new direction. They could have won the championship as constructed right now. This is a rare move that makes the team worse right now and severely harms them in the future. Most of us are struggling to understand how Dallas could possibly do this. I certainly wouldn't have done it, but let's try to think of the possible reasoning. Number 1, Dallas simply just didn't believe in Luka as a franchise player, whether that's due to his diet, conditioning, injury history, just general seriousness and professionalism. They're betting against his future. Number 2, Dallas still wants to win right now. They could get a better pick package or a collection of young players from another team, but if their goal is to remain as competitive as possible for the immediate future, Anthony Davis is probably the best realistic player they could have acquired. Number 3, they've made it clear they're all about defense. Anthony Davis is a defensive player of the year caliber player, and the fact that there was no sweepstakes means Dallas was specifically targeting AD or someone very similar, maybe like Giannis. But we know Nico Harrison has ties to AD from his Nike days, and the first thing he said after making this move is that defense wins championships. Now, Dallas is still a very good team, but are they a championship one? Without Luka, they lack the offensive firepower to get over the top. Even peak Kyrie Irving wouldn't ideally be tasked with carrying an entire offense. Asking him to do it at age 33 is even tougher. I imagine the Mavericks aren't done though. They have to be reconsidered as a prime Jimmy Butler destination. They can make the salaries work with PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Dwight Powell, and maybe Clay. A Kyrie, Quentin Grimes, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively starting five would be a filthy defensive team. Even if they don't go that route, the combination of Davis, Lively, and maybe Gafford if they don't move him in the front court is just overwhelming rim protection, size, and rebounding. I'm sure their plan is just to dominate defensively, win the possession battle, and get just enough shot creation from Kyrie and whoever else they trade for. Luka wasn't overwhelming in last year's playoffs. Dallas might look at that and feel like they don't need a superhuman offensive performance to get back to the finals. But what I don't get is that Dallas was already elite defensively with Luka. Luka's inconsistent effort on that end was not stopping Dallas. I do think in this deal, people are forgetting how good Anthony Davis still is. My issue is that AD has a concerning injury history of his own, and he's about to turn 32 next month. Kyrie's about to turn 33. The window for this duo is a couple years at best. To justify this trade, the Mavs either have to win a title with them, or Luka has to just have a severely disappointing career arc from here on out. The timeline for this too could be devastating considering what Dallas has already traded to build around Luka. Dallas has either outright traded or given a swap for each of their picks from 2027 to 2030. That's when AD and Kyrie will be in their mid to late 30s. They're doing this for a very short title window, and they're not going to be in a good position to rebuild once it ends. Sneakily also, Kyrie can opt out this summer. Imagine if he left after this. For Los Angeles, this is about the next decade plus, but let's look at how this affects the team right now. The LeBron and Luka fit won't be super smooth to start off. These are the two of the most heliocentric players ever, but they are two of the best playmakers to ever play this game, and they're smart enough to figure this out. At this stage of his career, LeBron getting to play more off-ball, do more cutting, being utilized as a screener and roll man, and not having as heavy of a ball handling load, that's going to be good for him. And with both he and Luka being threatening shooters, this isn't going to be your Westbrook rerun. Most teams don't have a single guy that's capable of stopping LeBron or Luka, let alone two guys to stop them both. The mismatch hunting between these two in the playoffs is going to be non-stop. You can't double either Luka LeBron anymore either. There's constantly going to be an outlet on the floor to dissect 4-on-3 situations. Now, the Lakers have to acquire starting level big man. Jackson Hayes is obviously not the answer. The Lakers were already a below average defensive team even with Anthony Davis, with all the carrying he had to do for their lackluster perimeter defense, and that's definitely going to get worse when you're trading for Luka and giving up a defensive player of the year caliber guy. The Lakers do still have Rui Hachimura, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Maxi Kleber now, and if they really had to, Austin Reeves as these mid-level salaries they can move, and still that 2031 pick miraculously. I'm sure they'll make some calls on Jakob Poeltl, DeAndre Ayton, Walker Kessler, Rob Williams, Mitchell Robinson, and maybe Miles Turner. Getting one of those guys along with another 3-and-D guy to replace Max Christie would be perfect. But even if the Lakers don't complete a roster that makes total sense for this season, you don't pass up an opportunity to trade for Luka. You acquire him and figure out the rest later. This move sets him up for the next decade plus, something that was going to be a real question with LeBron likely to retire in the next couple years. Even with their limited draft capital and young talent, the Lakers are again a premier destination for free agents that are going to want to join Luka. Luka might not be locked in with his off-the-court habits, but it's easy to imagine this deal lighting a fire under him. Getting blindsided might be exactly what he needs to get in the best shape of his life. Being under LeBron's mentorship is also going to do wonders for his overall professionalism. An underrated part of this trade is the Lakers technically get a discount on Luka's contract. To sign a Supermax, it has to be with the team that drafted you, or they trade for you while you're on your rookie contract. That's not the case here, so Luka's no longer Supermax eligible, which will bring him down from the 35% max to 30%, saving the Lakers money, but also giving them additional flexibility. It's almost comical how the Lakers are just a magnet for all-time greats. Just one after the other, often with multiple on the team at the same time. If you're a Lakers and Dodgers fan right now, the world is yours. The sheer magnitude of trading Luka is stunning, but the process of this all is mind-boggling. To move a star of this magnitude at age 25 without him forcing his way out and not getting the best offer there is feels like malpractice by Nico Harrison. If you're betting against Luka Doncic, you better be right. Otherwise, this could haunt the Dallas Mavericks forever. We already knew the NBA was insane. We've seen blockbuster midnight trades and league-changing signings. This is truly next level though. If Luka can get traded, anyone can. Except maybe Wemby. For those of you who love to post wild mock trades, you're not justified in doing so. Nothing's off the table in the NBA anymore.